Good afternoon. This is Commissioner Ritter, and I'd like to begin the meeting today, April 18th, 2023, at 5:30 p.m. All right. First on the agenda, we have our roll call. Nate, would you like to take care of that for us?
Yes, let the record show all commissioners are present.
Thank you very much. Next up, Pledge of Allegiance. If you please join me by standing and saying a pledge to allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Moving on to item number 4 on the agenda, do we have any special presentations or proclamations? It's so much quieter in here this month than it was last month. All right, moving on to number 5, oral communications. Do we have any scheduled?
There are no oral communications.
Thank you. And moving on to agenda 6. Is this something staff is going to help us with on administrative changes to the agenda?
There are no changes to the posted agenda.
Oh, okay, thank you. Okay, so approval of minutes. We actually have our February meeting as well as our March meeting. Since we were short commissioners that were actually in attendance on our February meeting, we went ahead and moved that to this meeting to approve. So could I have a motion to approve the February 21st regular meeting minutes?
Motion to approve the February 21st meeting.
Second. Oh, wait. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't think you can, so
Yes.
it would be either Commissioner Winters or...
I'll second that motion.
I'll withdraw.
I think we did that in stereo.
And let's go ahead and vote. For those voters that can. So any commissioners that did not attend, I see they have abstained, so we have 4 yeses and 3 abstain.
I'll make another motion to approve the March 21st meeting minutes.
Fantastic. Do I have a second?
Second.
Fantastic. So Commissioner Quinn seconded, and we'll vote on that. And motion passes. From the last meeting, we also moved electing a chair and vice chair for our commission to this meeting so that we could have all commissioners present so that we could vote on it as a group. Is there anyone that would like to nominate a person for the chair position? I would like to put forth the nomination of Commissioner Winters for chair.
I would,
I think first, would you accept the nomination?
yes.
Fantastic. Is there anyone else that would like to nominate a commissioner for the chair position for this year? And at this point, we can vote for Commissioner Winters to be our chair for this year?
Well,
There being no other nominations, Commissioner
By default?
Winters
Okay.
by default is chair.
I thought Commissioner Winters was going to provide a speech and his thoughts about how he was going to proceed and lead us this year.
I think he has that prepared for later on in the meeting. All right, fantastic. So congratulations, Chair Winters. And I'll guess I'll finish this action item, unless you want to go ahead and take over at this point. Since you're now officially the chair, I would suppose it's your show now.
Okay. So the next action item is we are going to elect a vice chair to serve for a one-year term. Are there any nominations for a vice chair? Or would anyone like to also self-nominate themselves for a vice chair position for a one-year term?
If there are no others, I would be willing to act as vice chair.
I would support that.
Anybody else interested in either nominating a commissioner for vice chair or self-nominating? Okay, I think,
There being no other nominations, Commissioner Ritter is vice chair.
okay, next item on our agenda is item 8B, the Parks and Rec Commission work plan. I understand I was able to watch the last meeting, so I'm up to speed on all the different work plan items that were presented. And I believe we're going to try to, during this meeting, either narrow down these work plans, get as specific as we can with these work plan items, continue to form our ad hoc committees as well. And ultimately, these work plan items, as we know, but let's just to review, should be achievable goals that we can have within this year. And in addition, should follow kind of the main duties of this commission, which of course is stated on the website, and it's to provide ultimately all of the policies and plans for the acquisition, development, improvement, and utilization of our parks, playgrounds, and recreational facilities. Provide recommendations for the policies and plans for the development and operations of community service programs for the benefit of the residents. In addition, we're looking to provide recommendations for the policies and plans for developing community service programs in cooperation with other public and private agencies, to include school districts, and then such matters that may be referred to the commission by city council. So I guess we could review our first stated goal, see if we can agree on that as a work plan item, and then go through the rest.
This is Manager Norgard. Just to jump in real briefly, what you see before you here on the screen is an aggregation of what was discussed at the last meeting. I didn't receive any text from any of the commissioners before the posting deadline, so I took the liberty of just filling these in. Feel free to edit, delete, add as necessary, and I can add any of those outcomes or goals that the commission reaches consensus on after tonight. And in addition, as Chair Winters mentioned, keep in mind what's achievable. If when you get through a first blush attempt to get the ad hocs filled, if you're not seeing that work plan item with enough resources to complete it, think about whether it's important enough to complete this year or if it's something that should get pushed out. So I just want to make sure that everybody has the bandwidth to accomplish the tasks that we set out. Some of them are really important, and I'm happy to see what we have on the work plan so far, but please keep that in mind. And I just noticed a number error on here, so please consider this draft until the next meeting.
Thank you, Manager Norgard. So the first work plan item is, says Parks and Recreation staff conduct annual tours for the commission, one to observe various summer programs and one to visit city parks, beaches, trails, and open space. For members involved, historically this has involved more than an ad hoc committee, I believe. We actually at one point did this as a special commission meeting, I believe. Is that what we're anticipating again this year?
Correct. There has been an ad hoc in the past that has weighed in on where will we go, what will we see. Staff will put together a recommendation on, this is what we would do for the rec tour, or this is what we would do for the parks tour, and that could go to the ad hoc. And then in addition to that, all members would be included in the tours.
We do need to kind of create a small ad hoc for this, and then just for some of the newer members, this is a full commission. We'll have kind of a mobile meeting, if you will, of various parks and rec services, different things. It could be looking at camps, it could be looking at other types of activities happening at the service center. So we'll do this as a full commission at some point, generally during the summer when these activities are kind of in full force. From an ad hoc perspective, I'm happy to work on this. If anybody would like to join me on that, they can.
I would join you, Chair Winters.
Okay,
And
great.
I wanted to join that also.
Perfect, okay.
Yep.
That's the most we can have on that. If somebody else wanted to join, I'm happy to consider that. We don't have to stop at that, and we could think about it. But is anybody else interested in that, or is everybody happy with those three? Okay, great. And just, I don't think we need to make any changes at this moment to the work plan item itself. I think that seems pretty
Well,
sufficient as it is.
From the text point of view, I'd just like to add that commissioners will make or provide feedback or recommendations based on information gained from the tours. I'll say as appropriate.
I like
Just
that idea as
From an
well.
outcome point of view.
Yeah, I think that's great to put that in specifically into that work plan item. So if we could make that change, that'd be fine. I kind of view in general, all of these work plan items kind of need to fit into what, of course, is the duties of the commission. And the broadest duty of the commission, of course, is to conduct public hearings, which we've done and which we will be doing throughout the year, prepare recommendations to City Council regarding public parks, recreational facilities, and community services. So I'm happy to put it in this one, and I believe in general that's kind of an overarching theme for all of our work plan items. But I appreciate the comment there, Commissioner O'Halloran.
I think the other thing that we could do is the commissioners that are on the ad hoc might take the opportunity to do note-taking during the course of the tours, and then as an ad hoc, perhaps kind of make a listing of things that we've heard from the commissioners and staff, and see if there's anything that, based upon the notes that we took and the feedback that we are hearing, that we might have a discussion on a future commission meeting about that particular item or items.
Okay, that's an excellent point, Commissioner Ritter. So I'm not sure if that needs to be added or just sort of would be a byproduct of what the work plan item would be.
I think it would mostly just be a byproduct, and staff are happy to meet with an ad hoc or have discussions afterwards as well.
And are we the rightmost column, which says outcomes, are we trying to finalize those as best we can right now?
Yes, because at some point, the commission will need to fully adopt the work plan.
I'll spend a minute looking at that outcome too of that, if that's something that we're looking for. And again, these outcomes are all within the broader context of what the role of the commission is. Any comments to that, or are commissioners happy with that outcome?
I'm good with the outcome.
Great. So we can move on to work plan item number 2, which would be attend city-sponsored events, serving it as city ambassadors by welcoming, meeting, and greeting the public, and serving in a volunteer capacity, conducting various events, duties as needed. Similarly, this can change over time based on the event, so I'm not sure if an ad hoc is appropriate for this specific, unless you think that we should do some scheduling or something along those lines.
Sure, good question. In the past, we have had an ad hoc specifically for the holiday parade. It helps with the planning for that, with the permitting and making sure everybody is a big idea and is able to carry it out.
Got it. So
I think an ad hoc would be good for the planning of a pop.
I think the pop-up park is a separate work plan item that we'll address separately, but yes. So again, just because we have a few new commissioners, so there's a holiday parade at the end of the year. It's very, very well-attended event for tens of thousands of city residents. We have the privilege and honor of getting to march in that, and we do that somewhat cohesively. We've been on e-bikes in the past. We've decorated the e-bikes. We've had candy and different things, but it's a fun little ad hoc to be a part of, and it does require some attention to details in terms of just organization of our other commissioners and some idea planning for how we should be representing ourselves, perhaps making a sign and things like that. Does anybody at this moment kind of thinking that this is mostly geared towards the holiday parade? Because all of our commissioners are, of course, welcome and encouraged to attend many of the city events. Does anybody have an interest in maybe leading the charge for this one?
I'll be part of the
Okay.
ad hoc.
Thank you.
As I was last year.
Okay.
Okay, and I'd be happy to participate also. I was just waiting for somebody who might know what they were doing.
Perfect. Okay.
So, so I can tag along.
Good. That's great. So we have some experienced and some new commissioners getting involved. So that's wonderful. Thank you. If anybody else wants to, I think 2 is generally a good number for that commission. So that would be Commissioner O'Halloran and Commissioner Meldal.
We've always had 3.
We've had 3?
Some of our new commissioners. You don't want to miss this event.
It normally happens like the first week of December, and it is a very limited, task in the sense that really are prepping for just this one event. Commissioner Hanson, perhaps you have, because I know you did so much of it last year, perhaps you had some other comments as to what some of the duties might entail?
Probably should have grabbed ad hoc and do what I did last year, which was next to nothing. I delegated everything. It's just involved with filing applications, coming up with ideas, whether we're going to be in a car, lights, designs, however we tend to gather. But we're like the 6th one to go out, and we're done by 15 minutes after the start of the parade, so it's pretty quick. But we can have a good impact if we decorate real well.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry. You can put me on that list.
Okay, we'll add Commissioner Quinn to that after just a small amount of arm twisting. So perfect. Thank you very much.
So can I ask I'm a little confused as to what actually happens. Is there a float that
So-
you said are we moving through the parade with everybody
So again,
else?
this work plan item in general is encompassing more than just the parade. So all of us are really have a responsibility and hopefully a joy by being ambassadors for the Parks and Recreation Department, attending events such as the Easter egg hunt, EcoFest, Cyclovia. We're all obviously invited to all of those events. Specifically as it relates to the holiday parade, there's apparently some permitting that we have to fill out to make sure that we're kind of properly registered for the parade, which we do with the Parks and Rec staff. So that's generally we get a lot of help with that. And then there's it's not necessarily a full float, but if the 3 of you decide that you guys want to try to create something like that, then we would be all for it.
I think
We've
it's
done
an
things
excellent
as-
idea,
Yes.
Commissioner Meldal, for you to come up with a float for us.
Yeah, it's been as simple as just e-bikes. It's been as simple as some fun hats and lights. So it could be really whatever the imagination and energy is available for that. So, but it would be wonderful if you've been to the parade. There are many organizations in the city that create a very sophisticated and holiday-oriented parades, which are great. So, absolutely. So it's kind of up to you, I guess, for that specific event. And again, just to look at the outcome of that, we are, again, of course, each commissioner is we're hoping and that we get as much participation as we can at all of the parks and rec events. There's always need for extra volunteers, always need for extra hands on deck for all of the events that the Parks and Recs Department puts on. I guess we'll move on to work item number 3, which is identify guest speakers for monthly meetings. In the past, we've had members of City Council come and speak to us about the budget process. We had different nonprofit organizations come and talk about how they're interacting with the city and our Parks and Rec department. It's educational for us. It kind of gives us some insight into how the city works and how we can be better commissioners. Is there a goal to try to have 4 or 6, or do you have kind of a suggestion on that?
Typically, we've tried to have a speaker at each meeting. Last year, we were 75% plus or minus.
So this really just involves kind of a little bit of networking out with some other community leaders to see how we might be more effective and efficient as a commission.
I think the other thing, too, is to take a look at our work plan, and there may be certain topics that might be a great opportunity for the commission to become more educated on them, where having a guest speaker come in and educate us can be beneficial to the commission and help us with our decision-making process.
Do we have any commissioner volunteers to try to head up this ad hoc committee?
I would like to be on the ad hoc if someone experienced would also be on.
I'm 0 for so far, so I'll be on it.
Great, I appreciate that very much. And one thing which I'll kind of go at the end a little bit. Manager Norgard, I guess we're going to go to, this is where our numbering issue comes into, okay? So item number 5, which will now be referred to as item number 4.
Chair Winters, I might add one other comment regarding the earlier item. I would also just say that just because 2 commissioners are tasked with the goal of finding guest speakers, that doesn't mean that we can't go, as any of our commissioners here can't go to the ad hoc and say, hey, I've had a great talk with so-and-so. I think they might be a great opportunity to do a presentation for us. So certainly feel free to talk with the ad hoc, to suggest other guest speakers. And I think it also kind of goes to like what Commissioner Hanson was saying regarding delegating some responsibilities out for the holiday parade, because it certainly makes the job a lot easier if it's not just down to 2 or 3 people to make it all happen. So there are things like that even though we're assigning 2 or 3 people to be on the ad hoc, we can certainly provide some assistance within the constraints of the Brown Act.
Yeah, thank you for those comments. Those are very valuable. I appreciate that. Can we move to special projects? So the next item, which is review parks and recreation fees. I believe we have a special meeting scheduled and set for the agenda for May 2nd. So everybody should have that on their calendar as well, as the commissioners knowing that there's a special meeting to address this. Do we need then to discuss this as an ad hoc now, or is this really just going to be involving all of us, all the commissioners?
An ad hoc is fine, but because we have a special meeting coming up, it will encompass everybody that's able to attend, and hopefully that's everyone. So this will be a work plan item that comes up very quickly, obviously. We've had briefings to let you know a little bit more about the issue, and so I think we're in pretty good shape on this one.
So that means we still need to form an ad hoc for it?
I don't think that that's necessary, but if there's members that want to have an ad hoc for anything that goes on beyond the May 2nd meeting, that's fine.
So when it comes to writing a letter of recommendation to the city council as to what we should do on moving forward on the fees, would an ad hoc end up writing that, or would someone tasked on the commission write that and then present it to the commission to vote on?
So if on the May 2nd meeting, the commission votes to make a recommendation, staff will include that in a subsequent staff report to city council. And so your recommendation will be included at that time. And staff can share proposed language for the staff report with the commission prior to sending it to the council.
Is the May 2nd meeting the only opportunity for the commission to make a recommendation?
In the interest of time, it would be best, but if the commission's not able to reach consensus at that time, then we would need an additional meeting.
Thank you.
So it doesn't sound like, again, because this has been been scheduled as a special meeting, that we necessarily need an ad hoc for this. I would suggest that perhaps if after the May 2nd meeting, this item is still being reviewed or perhaps being debated by the commission, maybe at that point we would think about creating an ad hoc. But I think at this time we can move on to the next item if that's okay. Okay. So the next item is review the field allocation policy. This is an item that would also be, I think, coming up fairly quickly. This is an item that's actually of interest to me, so I would like to join this ad hoc. If anybody else is interested in that, there'd be, Commissioner Hansen has suggested he be.
I have interest in this item also, but would defer to one of the newer commissioners if they are also interested. I mean, I make two, so we could add a third.
Yeah, no, I think it'd be valuable to have you on this ad hoc if that's.
What's a ballpark for the number of ad hocs we can expect you to be on?
Well, it looks like we have, 12 or so work items. So there's, everyone should have an opportunity to try to be on, 2 or 3. You could certainly be on more if some are dear to you and really something that you're passionate about. In general, I'm hoping that also as some of these items are completed, again, as Commissioner Ritter said, if you have an idea just for a speaker, even if you're not on, per se, the speaker ad hoc, that's certainly something that would be welcome to share with that ad hoc, either at a meeting or whenever. So in general, I think we're hoping for a few different.
I can withdraw on this one. I saw the one I was interested in a little bit later on the.
Okay.
Manager Norgard, do you foresee this being kind of a similar situation with the fees in that we would be educating the stakeholders that are interested and then perhaps having a special meeting to discuss it? Or do you see that it would be something that we could handle in the constraints of a regular commission meeting?
Similar, but this would likely be handled through our regular meeting.
Thank you. Regarding time frame, and the only reason why I ask is I'll be traveling out of the country in the summer. Is this something that's going to happen in the summer, or is it something that's going to be happening more in the fall? Do you have any ballpark?
It could begin in spring and summer.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So unless, yes.
I would be interested in joining it, although I am concerned because I am going to be gone for most of the last half of June overseas. If that would be a problem, I would withdraw my candidacy.
That shouldn't be any issue.
No, I don't think it'll be an issue. So it'll be great. So that ad hoc will be Commissioner Mildal, Commissioner Winters, and Commissioner O'Halloran. And then I think the outcome of that seems fairly straightforward and appropriate as well, so I don't think we need to make any kind of adjustments to that outcome. The next one is volunteer recruitment and implementation, with the hopes of forming an ad hoc committee to meet with city staff and promote a robust volunteer program for events and programs.
Manager Hammer, could you maybe give us a little bit of a feedback as to what you would enjoy assistance on from the commission on that particular work item?
Manager Hamer, on this particular work item, you started this last year, and so a lot of the wheels were already in motion. In fact, this week is National Volunteer Week, and we did launch the new volunteer program. It's called the Encinitas VIPs. So I think if we wanted to keep this as an item so that we can grow the program, build the program, and then next year actually have a special event for volunteers and bring us back full circle to where the city was at before COVID. I think that would be very supportive and helpful to have the commission behind that and, part of the growth movement.
I've been very involved in this, and I'd like to continue.
Great, thank you very much. Anybody else interested in joining this one?
I'll be on this ad hoc.
That's Commissioner, my first attempt, Vanderhour. Yes. Great, thank you. So now we have research and planning for adult fitness equipment. Obviously, Commissioner Ritter, this is one that you've been involved with for a number of years with myself. Did you have any additional language you wanted for the work plan item first?
I'm noticing that in some of the language, there's this form and ad hoc committee too. Is that just kind of temporary language, or was that something that we would end up editing to be more like what we've done in the last couple of years? Or
Feel free to edit as necessary.
okay, great. I did write or had said some language in the last meeting that was somewhat similar to this. Definitely interested in, like it said, to work with city staff and consultants to review and provide input and recommendations to the planning for the inclusion of adult fitness and playground equipment projects. The only thing that I would also like to include in that is just reviewing other opportunities in other parks and on the coastal rail trail. There's slim possibility that there might be an opportunity to add some equipment on a new segment of the coastal rail trail that's being extended through Encinitas. So I would just like to have that as a work plan item in the language, just so that we could do that and just kind of research that a little further. We did a little bit of research last year, but I just would like to try a little harder. And I would love to be on that ad hoc.
Yeah. So just for clarity, do we have the language then that you're suggesting? Is it research and planning for outdoor adult fitness equipment, or for the deployment of outdoor adult fitness equipment in parks and on the coastal rail trail, or do you have a?
Well, I do kind of like assuming that we can get the consultant on board and then also get the plan done, but we have funds available for our first two playground equipment replacements. So my understanding is that we could spend that money this year and that we could probably have that done this year. Is that doable, do you think?
We will begin solicitation for the consultants soon. Most of this year will likely be the planning and design process. I do not anticipate that we would begin construction this year.
Okay, thank you. Well, then I guess that kind of keeps us at research and planning and not actually installing. And then with regards to the desired outcome, I would probably change it a little bit, and unfortunately I don't have the language with me. I would. Or is it our intention to try to basically have everything finalized and vote on it today to finalize it, or could we finalize that in the next meeting once these edits are made? Or how about this? Since I'm the only one that's dragging my feet a little bit on the language, how about we see how we do on the other language, and if we think that we can finalize that, then I'll work on this language in the meantime.
Got it. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. So we're on to review and monitor tennis court and pickleball court use in city parks. This one I definitely think we need to form an ad hoc for. And then says commissioners, well, as a potential work outcome, commissioners to review, monitor tennis. It says tennis and court and pickleball court use to make a recommendation on future usage. Commissioners will also review the results of the feasibility study underway for sport court planning at Encinitas Community Park.
This is definitely an item I have interest in and have been part of.
Certainly. So it looks like we're going to bring the big guns on this one. So this is going to be Commissioner Ritter, Commissioner Hanson, and Commissioner O'Halloran, please.
And then can we just update that language?
Yeah, the first "and" is a typo.
Okay.
I would say that if any other commissioners are interested in joining this particular work plan item, I'm happy to withdraw if there's interest.
You know, this is an important one and one that probably is going to have some longevity, so it might be interesting or important to have kind of a newer commissioner join this. So what's happening, just by a little bit of way of background, is, and perhaps Commissioner Norgard, please correct me if I misspeak, we're currently evaluating the feasibility for different types of uses at Encinitas Community Park. And based on what the consultant says, this commission might have some abilities to try to understand how we're going to be using this public space if it's determined that it can be used in a different manner. So it's an interesting one that could go on for a while.
And there's also a probably more immediate need before the ECP study is completed to take a look at how the pickleball and tennis court sharing is working in the city now. So the commission had previously made some recommendations to staff, which led to the dual striping of Cottonwood Creek and Moonlight Beach tennis courts, and it's probably a good time to check in on how that's working and see if we need to make any edits or changes.
And
Because we'll be restriping Moonlight after it gets resurfaced, so we have an option there as to how we're going to stripe that.
okay.
What's the schedule for the resurface on Moonlight?
We're actually in the process of hiring the contractor now, so we should be ready to have that contract executed fairly shortly.
If you're looking for some new blood, I'd like to serve on that.
Always perfect. Thank you. That's Commissioner Quinn.
And I think that's a great point, too, as we look at some of these work plan items that have some longer runs on them, that there are a few commissioners that are going to be ending their first term after this year. So it's good to have other people that have that are more junior to serve on some of these, so that they have the experience to keep the project moving forward.
And again, just for the new commissioners, you know, there's this workflow kind of does ebb and flow, and it's perfectly okay if you're not available for every single item of it. That's why we're trying to build these ad hoc committees, so if someone's not available, the other commissioners can certainly attend a meeting or pick up the slack or do with what you can. So it's if you feel like you're a little bit overwhelmed at this moment or just trying to figure out exactly how to get involved, even throughout the process, some of these work plan items are a little bit busier than others, so I just don't want anyone to feel like they're either missing out or overloading themselves. There's plenty of opportunities to help and contribute throughout the year as well. And was everyone okay with that potential work plan item, which is commissioners to review? Is it review and monitor? Is that where we're going? Okay, thank you. Review and monitor tennis and court and pickleball court use to make a recommendation on future usage. Commissioners will also review the results of the feasibility study underway for sport court planning at Encinitas Community Park. We just need a end period at the end of that one too. Perfect. The next is pop-up parks at city events.
I actually have another question.
Sorry. Please.
And that's regarding the resurfacing. I guess it's already, yeah, you said it's planned, they're getting ready to start. Does that mean they'll finish before our next meeting and that we will already have painted lines on Moonlight?
No. If this ad hoc is approved through the work plan, staff definitely would like to work with the ad hoc before we give the NTP for any contractors to do any work. So we're getting ready. We'll have the contractor in place. The ad hoc can do their work with staff, and then at that time, we'll work with the contractor to make whatever improvements are necessary.
Okay, great, thank you.
Now I've got a question on this one, sorry. In the past, this commission has done some community outreach on this very issue. Are you envisioning that would be happening again, or do you think this could be more of just an observational type of review and discussions with maybe participants that the commissioners encounter? Or are you thinking that there's a need for sort of another type of community outreach at this time?
I think it really depends on the workflow. It's totally appropriate if the commission and ad hoc determines that they want to notice and have folks come to this meeting and give public comment. Totally fine. And I think that would help give a broad array of voices, in addition to commissioners going out into the field and seeing how it's working in real time. You can get a pretty good eye on things when people don't really know who you are. Not everyone knows that I'm the parks manager, so I get to see quite a bit on the weekends when I'm in the park with my daughter. So I think it is always best to have more voices. So if the commission determines to have this as an open meeting to discuss it and have folks come in and notice it, I think that's a good idea.
So just again, so everyone kind of can get the same information, make sure we're staying on the same page. So this ad hoc committee, if they deem necessary, could certainly reach out to various different constituents that are pickleball players and tennis players and court use players, and we could try to schedule a time where we could have that type of discussion in front of us, or it could certainly be just observational as we're all enjoying the city's facility. So we'll kind of leave it up to the ad hoc how they want to proceed with that. But it is an important item as well, and I'm glad that we have, I believe there's 3 commissioners on this one, is that correct? Yeah, so I think it's an important item because it's been one that has pickleball uses on the rise, but we certainly have a lot of tennis players too, so it's important to kind of find a balance to appeal to as many residents as we can and get as many people enjoying and using our parks as possible.
And for the new commissioners, just as some background history, that nationwide there can be conflict between pickleball players and tennis players on courts because of a variety of various issues. So it would also it might be worthwhile to maybe do a little bit of research into what are other cities doing to mitigate the conflicts. We want everybody to be happy. There's only so many courts in the cities that can support both sports. So, so I think that that's why this ad hoc is in place, because it's a continuation of work that that the ad hoc from an earlier term had done, where they reached out to both communities, they noticed it, and got feedback, and then we came up with some proposed changes, and it seemed to be working for a while, but I think that there's still is a little bit of conflict there. So we're just looking at other ways of maybe easing that so that we don't have it.
Thank you. I think unless there's any other discussion on that item, we can,
Just a quick point of information. Does this include the senior center pickleball? It was Tuesdays and Thursdays, is that?
We do have pickleball at the Community and Senior Center. If the ad hoc chooses, we can take a look at that as well. I think that's generally working pretty well.
Manager Hamer, yes, there have been no complaints or requests for additional pickleball or less pickleball, but if you wanted to add that, perhaps if asked, they would be interested in more. That could be possible, so could be added.
is that
Thank you.
pickleball inside at the gymnasium? Yes. Okay. Yeah, so I think that's an indoor, which doesn't necessarily conflict with tennis use, because I don't think there's any tennis being played on that court.
Correct.
So historically, our focus has been the sharing of, or really the sharing of tennis courts and the migration of them into pickleball courts and how that's affected our community. It certainly doesn't mean you're limited to that topic, but that's been the focus of it, and I think kind of the focus of our, how we can potentially manage any conflicts is really what we're trying to think about here. But thank you for that thought. I think we're on to pop-up parks at city events, which was just introduced last year, was very successful. Was that only at one? Was that only at one event last year? Was it just at Cyclovia?
Yes, we only had it at Cyclovia.
Yeah, and it was so successful, we'd like to bring it back.
And just as a background for the new commissioners, so the pop-up park, what we did is we, during Cyclovia, where the event closes down 101 through the village of Encinitas, we set up a temporary pickleball court that was at the south end of the event space. And then we also added like 3 cornhole games as well. I would say we had the court was being occupied probably about 90% or more of the time. It was really fun, and it got them interacting with the commissioners and with the Parks and Rec booth, because we set up a booth there. So I think it's something that could be very valuable to see if there's an opportunity to extend it to other events, and we can consider other recreational games beyond just pickleball. But obviously pickleball there's so much mania about it right now. That's a great draw. You know, obviously we have to have a hard surface to make that happen. We got some markers, and we used like plastic markers that helped us define the lines, and then we used chalk to draw the lines on the street. And then we already had paddles and balls and so forth from the rec center. So it's a inexpensive thing to do. It does take some time because the commissioners are manning it. And we had a sign made last year that was really fun that Nick Buck made up for us. So I think it's great because it provides some branding for the commission. It introduces us to the public a little bit more and makes it look like we're fun. So I would love to serve on this ad hoc.
Can I say something?
Yes.
I wonder if there'd be some value in actually expanding this item number 10 to not only include the pop-up parks, but generalize it a bit more to increasing public awareness of the commission. Because it seems to me that would be something valuable. As I began to think about things that I wanted to bring to the commission. I had to do some digging, into the city website to sort of realize what you folks did and how somebody brings up an idea forward. And the pop-up parks is a wonderful way to increase awareness of the commission, but I think we can just expand the topic to not just, pop-up parks are just one thing that we can do under the bigger umbrella of how to increase public awareness of the Parks and Recreation Commission and how the public can give feedback to the commission.
Right, and I appreciate that comment. I think that at least the spirit of that comment is perhaps addressed in item number 2, where it's sort of a broad one. And again, I'm not sure if we even have an ad hoc for number 2, but in item number 2, really all of the commissioners are encouraged to attend city-sponsored events, service city ambassadors, welcome, meet, and greet the public, and educate about the commission. So I think that I concur with your suggestion, and by being available to the public, by being an outreach, identifying yourself, even if you don't have the answer, if someone has a question like you might have had in the past about a certain piece of property or a certain activity, just by being a point of contact, then you can kind of take that to staff and try to figure out and help the community. So I think it's covered under item 2, but if you're not comfortable with that, we can talk about it a little bit more.
Well, I agree that it partly covers it, but for example, what about, Ross wrote an article, a short piece in the local paper that kind of encouraged me to apply for this commission, and I don't know if I would have done it if I hadn't seen that. What if we could take out a short article in the Encinitas Advocate, once every couple of months and say, hey, there's this commission. By the way, there's a lot of these commissions, but if you have ideas about Parks and Recreation, you can come to the meeting and have a say. So it would be more than just us personally being ambassadors. It would be a broader outreach to get people to realize that there's this resource that they can have put feedback into. So that's all I'm thinking.
Understood. Any other comments on that? So it sounds like it's a broader work plan item about potentially marketing the Parks and Rec department and services that it provides to the community. I think, I'm not sure if that's...
Again, the thing is that since I'm just a newbie, I don't know that this is necessary. I mean, it really depends. I think the folks who have more experience need to sort of say, well, I don't think that's a problem, or yeah, that's a good idea. And either one is fine. It's just a suggestion.
Well, I think perhaps what you're suggesting is, what can we do as a commission from a public relations standpoint to make or create more brand awareness that we're even here. In general, you look out into the audience and you see empty chairs. So how do you get the public more engaged with the commission? So is that more of what your goal is?
Yes.
I would say, too, that as we consider language for that, it is something that we could be, generic from the standpoint of, and consider public relation methods to gain awareness of the commission. And then as an outcome, we could list things like, perhaps you write an article for the Encinitas Advocate, and that would be an outcome of creating more public awareness of the commission.
Like the pop-up parks strike me as being more of an outcome as opposed to whereas the goal is increased public awareness. Mm-hmm. And the pop-up parks are one thing to do to increase public awareness. So it doesn't seem like it should go in the left column. It should be in the right, I guess. But so could we rewrite the language of number 10 to say increase public awareness of the role and goals of the Parks and Recreation Commission? That would be number 10, right? And then, or something like that. And then pop-up parks, articles in the local advocate paper, those kinds of things are the things that the ad hoc committee pursues to try to reach that goal.
I actually like the idea of really rewriting this line item. I think the pop-up parks, again, were fantastic, and their outcome was to raise awareness and engage the community. So I really like where you're going with this. Do we think we could draft the language tonight to put it in here? I mean, the goal, I guess, could just be to raise community awareness around activities, impact, and collaboration that they can have with the Parks and Recs Commission, and then the outcomes can be form the ad hoc committee, feasibility for more pop-up parks, along with potential articles in local, local publications or other activities as appropriate to achieve that goal of gaining recognition and engagement from the community.
I just kind of want to bring it back a little bit to sort of the stated goals of this commission in general, and perhaps we could get a little advice from staff. But again, the stated goals of the commission, which are the duties of the commission, is to conduct public hearings and prepare recommendations to City Council on matters regarding public parks, recreational facilities, and community services, and that includes sort of a few bullet points. Obviously, kind of, it doesn't necessarily state that we're supposed to be the PR department as well. Now, we are, and we try to be, because that gives us feedback from the community in terms of what's kind of working and what's not working, and what maybe they'd like to see and what they, isn't working for them. So I'm not at all trying to diminish the suggestion. It's an excellent suggestion. I'm just trying to see if it's within the duties of the commission, or if it's a byproduct, if you will, for lack of a better word, or of what our goals are and what the duties are. In your experience, and maybe we could get a little just guidance if this is something that you've seen before, if you have different thoughts in terms of whether this is, in your opinion, a commission item, or whether you think it's something a little outside of our area.
Certainly, if the commission felt they wanted to devote a work plan item to that, they could. I think that there's probably a middle ground to be found, and that would include language in the outcome for either the pop-up parks or the city-sponsored events to raise awareness for the Parks and Rec Commission and yada, yada, yada. Because as I understand it, the pop-up park at Cyclovia was awesome and fun, but it was not in and of itself there to just be awesome and fun, and included information for folks to find out about the Park and Rec Commission, which was great, because you draw people in with a really cool thing and you say, hey, and by the way, we also do really cool stuff. Come see us at our public meetings. So I think those two work really well here. And by virtue of being staffed by the commissioners, separate from just being an ambassador at the event, I think that will begin to raise awareness. Because if you walk into the Easter egg hunt or the spring egg hunt, and you see the commissioners, you're also looking at so many other things. Whereas when you come to an event and there's a pop-up park, it's a discrete item, and it's going to grab more of your attention. You have the ability to interact more with local folks and potentially raise that awareness. So just my kind of recommendation.
And the other thing-
Manager,
I was just going to
Manager Hamer,
add.
I was just going to mention, speaking off what Manager Norgard was just saying, is you could interlace 2 and 10, call it community outreach and connections, and then that outcome being attend the city events, volunteering, pop-up parks, and then you have that outreach, because it sounds like it's not necessarily PR, but it's outreach. And as a commission, you are the community liaison to the department, so you do have that important role. So that should be something you're constantly doing as you talk to the public. But that community outreach is when you're out in the public and you're either with us or you have your pop-up park. So it could be that they merge together. And as he had said, those items are outcomes, which community outreach is your actual plan.
I was just going to say that I feel like having been there at Cyclovia with our pop-up park and looking at the interaction that we got with the community, and then you compare that to the Parks and Rec booth that they also had at the event, which had similar information, maps and things like that, I think we got a lot more attention just because, like Manager Norgard said, wow, they're fun. They got, all this stuff going on. We're big. They see lots of things happening, lots of movement. So it really attracts them and draws people in. I think that there is, as a work plan item, I think pop-up parks, there is some work in kind of managing the process. And my suggestion would be to keep it as a separate work plan item in the sense that, we have to figure out, well, where else could we add them? Having the responsible commissioners to try to man the parks and set them up and tear them down, because it really does kind of fall on us to kind of manage that process. So I do feel like there can be a lot of work involved in just the pop-up park. However, I would also say that we could take a look at that number 2 and add additional language in there to address your point, because I really do feel like having more awareness of the commission being here and what our benefit is to the community and how they have a voice here would be worthwhile to pursue. But I think it would be, for me, better underline work plan item number 2.
So if we went back to, I'm sorry to go back to item number 2 for a minute, but if we go back to item number 2 and add another sentence that says, promote the Parks and Recreations Department and services provided by them to the public, would that?
I don't think we're necessarily working so much, from my understanding of your interest in this, for promoting the department as much as promoting the commission, and that we're here as a community resource for them to come and speak to us about matters that they have concerns on. I think the Parks and Rec Department, they have their own marketing team to kind of deal with promoting themselves.
Would it be okay then if we added, so revising my suggestion to promote and educate the public about the Parks and Recreation Commission?
How would it be if we just wrote the first sentence to raise awareness of the Parks and Recreation Commission by such things as attending city-sponsored events, serving as city ambassadors, so on and so forth? With that, and that would, does that capture the same idea, or did I miss something?
No, I think that's a very good suggestion. If anybody has any other comments on that, but is that?
Do you feel like that elevates it enough for you?
Yeah, I think so. I think
Okay.
it gives it enough of an umbrella that you could add things like, the articles in the paper, or, outreach on a blog site or something like that. Yeah.
Okay, so was that, okay, so we changed the language there in number 2, adding it to the front of that stated goal. Let's just take a second to look at that outcome to see if that outcome should be revised in any way.
One thing we do have is the holiday parade ad hoc associated with item number 2. So I'm not sure if that impacts our thought process, and who is on that ad hoc?
You and me and somebody else.
Commissioners O'Halloran, Meldal, and Quinn were on the holiday parade ad hoc.
Okay. Yeah, I wanted to make sure that you were on it, so if
Yeah.
you wanted to go forward.
Right, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So with that ad hoc setup, yeah, I think I would be fine adding the language that we had recommended into the stated goal and move on.
Perfect, okay. Thank you very much for that. Okay. Not sure if we finished pop-up parks yet. So,
I did
Commissioner
list
Winter, is that-
myself as an ad hoc member.
okay.
Anyone else wish to join?
At the last meeting, I also expressed interest in the ad hoc group in this one.
It's the fun ad hoc.
Okay, I think we can move on then. Trail naming. I think there was some new information about this that Manager Norgard, did you want to share on this one? Thanks.
So this was a work plan item that was suggested by staff, and we have had some correspondence with the Encinitas Trail Coalition, and we're digging into whether or not this work plan item is needed. My recommendation would actually be to take this off for now, and if something else is needed, we can bring it forward to the commission.
Okay, thank you for that. I appreciate it. I think that'd be appropriate if we remove this
I'm in agreement.
item. And what, just again, for all the commissioners, not just for some of the new commissioners, what you'll find sometimes is a project that we're working on here in this commission may also simultaneously be worked on with another commission or city organization. And sometimes we work in conjunction with them. This happened when we were discussing certain e-bike policies, electric bike policies a year or two ago, where the Traffic Commission was working on it as well, and we were sort of wondering how e-bikes were being impacted, whether there was any negative or positive impact on our trails. And then it turns out there really weren't, but there were maybe some issues on our streets, so it kind of became a Traffic and Safety Commission item as opposed to a Parks and Rec Commission item. And then there are other organizations that we kind of interact with and touch, even the Arts Commission as well. So it's not entirely uncommon where something might be already dealt with in a different commission or different organization, and that happens somewhat frequently.
One point that I would make is trails is a major component of our Parks and Rec department. And I know in the last 2 years that I've served, we've had some type of ad hoc that was involved with trails. So I think that it might be worthwhile to consider still having some type of ad hoc with regards to trails. Perhaps staff might be able to suggest something.
Yeah, Commissioner Vander Auer and Commissioner Quinn sent some information over late last week, essentially to revive the work plan item from last year, which states, participate in the Parks and Recreation Department's implementation of the Parks Master Plan. Specific focus includes, but not limited to, 1.2A, Trails Master Plan with regard to A, the outer spatial app and its functionality, accuracy of trail data and photos, B, take note of signs and markers on existing trails, and C, public relations and receiving feedback from residents for Parks and Recreation Commission and promoting Encinitas residents' use of the Outer Spatial Trails app. So this would create some sort of an umbrella for work on the trails, so which, as you've mentioned, has happened in the past.
Were A, B, and C the outcomes?
They could be changed to outcomes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a bit much for a.
Well, yeah, that I was kind of thinking about. Yeah, that's a big goal, and other outcomes could be achieved for sure. But those sounded like three really good ones.
Yeah, absolutely. The trails are a large part of our purview and the enjoyment of the city. People use them every single day. I think it's important that we're at least have a work plan item that addresses that. And it seems like it's broad enough that it could involve a lot of different aspects associated with trails. So I think that's a great suggestion and glad to have that added as a work plan item.
I think also one of the organizations that has a lot of involvement with our Parks and Rec department is the Encinitas Trails Coalition. So I think making sure that we have something there that might speak to questions or concerns that they might have sometime in the future would be worthwhile.
Okay. Number 12. Continue support of Friends of Encinitas Park. as they continue support of Parks and Recreation. Commissioner Hanson, is there anything you'd like to?
I'll be on this one.
Gotcha.
Can I ask what this commission, what the ad hoc committee would do on this?
Yes, Commissioner Hanson, can you inform us sort of what you're anticipating the work on this?
The Friends of Encinitas Parks is a nonprofit that's supposed to sit next to the Parks Department and raise money in efforts where they're not budgeting money. It went dormant 3 or 4 years ago, and I brought it back to life last year. And I'm having trouble getting traction. So I may invite 1 or 2 of you onto the board, or I can certainly use some help getting traction on getting events planned and raising funds. And right now, other than being in compliance with all the regulatory bodies, we're not really doing a whole lot. So it may involve just helping me out in ideas getting traction.
Okay.
I would be interested in helping you. I have a lot of nonprofit solicitation experience.
And then is that outcome, I think, appropriate as well? The commission will support Friends of Encinitas Parks in their efforts to support parks, beaches, trails, and recreational funding needs for the city.
I don't know that I like the outcome. I think it should be more the Friends of Encinitas Parks gets more engaged with recreation and park activity.
That might be more of an outcome, though, from Friends of Encinitas Park than it is for the commission, though.
I'm wearing 2 hats here.
I think we do have a few work plan items that I feel that we could finesse the language if the ad hocs kind of met and worked it out to where it's exactly what we really want, and share it with staff and get their feedback, and perhaps we could get that all done so that early next meeting we can just say, okay, this all looks great, and just approve it then. I feel a little uncomfortable approving it right now, as my own opinion.
Is it okay within our timing to have all these work plan items approved at the May meeting, or is this something you're hoping to?
Yeah, given last month that we pushed the chair and vice chair, I think it's normal that you needed a little extra time to work through these. Just as a point, I did not catch the ad hoc members for pop-up parks and the trails item. And if we don't have those tonight, that's fine, but I just want to make sure I do catch them.
Okay, I think we do have those pop-up.
So pop-up park, I'm on that.
Commissioner Ritter and Commissioner Vanderauer. And then for trails was Commissioner Quinn and Commissioner Vanderauer. And now for number 12 is Commissioner Hanson. Was there anybody else on? And Commissioner Ritter, thank you.
Can I just request that you put down the ad hoc members and send that out to us so we can get going?
Yes.
And is there any possibility that we could work this out to where it's something that we could add to our special meeting May 2nd, or should we just wait and do it on a regular scheduled meeting?
On your regular scheduled meeting would be simpler and give time for the ad hocs to really finesse their language.
Okay.
Sorry, maybe I misheard, but are we able to see an updated draft of the work plan outside of a meeting, right? So that can be circulated, people can have a little time to review that on their own prior to the next.
Yeah, I can update this and share it with the ad hocs.
Got it. Okay. The last items there, which is they're numbered 13 and 14, are those items that we need to discuss at all, or
These are essentially carry forwards.
Yep. Got it. Okay. So I think that will conclude the discussion right now on the work plan items. Okay, next up is the park operations report.
Okay, thank you. So Arbor Day is this Saturday at Leucadia Oaks Park from 9 to noon. We will be planting trees in the park. We will be pre-digging many of the holes, so it's pretty easy. If you want to bring kids or have a teachable moment, we're also going to be showing the best way to install a tree. So everything will be at the event. We'll have gloves, shovels, water, mulch, everything that you need for that. We'll also have a booth there with staff to help promote the department for folks to learn about trails programs, cultural arts, and volunteering events. As a note, the Maggie Houlihan Memorial Dog Park at the Encinitas Community Park will temporarily close for the annual spring maintenance and restoration from May 1st to the 28th. So we do this twice a year, every year, since the park has been opened. This year, contractors will focus on improving the irrigation coverage, renovating the turf, amending the soil, and adding sod. The annual spring rest and renovation period also gives the existing grass time to grow without disturbance. The dog park will reopen on May 29th at 8 a.m. During the closure period, folks can enjoy Olympus Park Dog Park or several off-leash sites that we have throughout the city at Encinitas Viewpoint Park, Orpheus Park, Sun Vista, and Mountain Vista Trail. And related, we're also wrapping up a similar rest and renovation period for the large dog park area at Olympus Park, which will reopen on May 1st. Staff and contractors have resodded the large dog park area, adjusted irrigation, and some decomposed granite areas to move around some wet areas that have popped up. And that concludes my report.
Any commissioners have any questions on the park operations report?
Any updates on Stone Steps?
I spoke with the contractor Thursday, and they're still in materials procurement. The contractor has asked his suppliers if they're able to submit a letter to the city to inform us when they anticipate having those supplies ready. I have not received that, and I'm scheduled to have a call with the contractor again tomorrow.
Thank you. Any other questions on the parks report?
I'm not sure this is the right time to ask, but I know at the last meeting there was discussion about the landfill conversion project that the county is undertaking, and I was wondering if you were going to be making contacts with them to keeping us up to date on how that's going. I mean, in this fiscal year, they're doing a feasibility study, as I understand it, to turn that landfill area into a park. Is that something that's be worth somebody on the commission making a contact with them, or should we keep our nose out of it and let you be the liaison?
Since this is non-agendized, I would recommend you and I have an offline discussion.
Okay, thanks.
There's some work that's being done at the pumping station, I understand, there at Moonlight Beach, and I was noticing some plastic down through some of the drainage channel there. Is that part of that work?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Manager Hammer?
Manager Hamer. As Manager Norgard had shared, we have the Arbor Day event this Saturday. So we will be hosting a booth with information, recruiting volunteers. Hopefully the Friends of Encinitas Parks can join us and do that community outreach that is always needed, more information. So if you'd like to join us and volunteer, I was told that there's going to be t-shirts, breakfast burritos, donuts, and coffee. So you can't beat that if you can come and join us. We'll be there at 9 a.m. I'll have a staff member there. I know I'll be there part of the morning. So we hope you can join us. As I had stated before, this week is National Volunteer Appreciation Week. We did launch the Encinitas VIPs, and our senior nutrition program went from 7 volunteers to today, because they just trained 3 more, they have 20 volunteers. So it's really great to see that program rebuilding, and I have about 6 new volunteers that have expressed interest and registered, so I'll be inviting them to that event, as well as the upcoming event of the State of the City. That is not a city event, but it is hosted at our Encinitas Community and Senior Center. Plus, it's a partnership with the Chamber of Commerce. So that is next week on Thursday, April 27th from 5:30 to 8 p.m. We will be asking for volunteers to help. The Chamber needs help. So I'll be sending you an invitation to see if you have interest for helping with that. But we as a city will also be helping with them to make sure it's smooth. It used to be done at a resort, and now it's back at the center. So there's a lot of adjustments and things changing to make that happen. We also have the upcoming movie in the park. That's going to be at Glen Park on Saturday, May 13th. The movie is Disney's, I think it's Raya and the Last Dragon. I don't know if, yes, I think that's how you pronounce it. But that might be another great opportunity to have. We'll have an information booth, but for the commission, if you want to do that outreach, I wouldn't be a pop-up park, but maybe you've had a little gaming area because you're in a park. Just those different kind of opportunities, if you have those ideas, would love for them to be brought to us, and so we can collaborate and make those happen and keep the commission in the spotlight and showing some fun. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you, Manager Hamer. I appreciate that, and I apologize for mispronouncing your name.
No problem.
Any questions at all on this? But certainly seems like lots of interesting opportunities for the commission to start to get involved in the community and introduce themselves, and just to start to be helpful in any way we can. Any specific questions at this moment?
I had a question and a comment. So on the movie night in Glen Park, I know last time we had some issues with electricity, so you might want to double check to make sure that the outlet is working properly. That was a really fun event. Actually, Commissioner Lappin and I conducted the surveys there, and that's a great opportunity for commissioners to outreach to the public and also collect some much-needed surveys on their experiences in the park and the economic impact of what parks bring to the community. So that might be, if you're still conducting those surveys, that might be an opportunity for us to help there as well.
If I wanted to say one more thing, for all of you who joined us at the spring egg hunt, thank you so much. You did a fantastic job. We had 40 volunteers, teenagers, that it was quite a force. So I know you didn't have to do quite as much work as you had anticipated, but every bit of it was very impactful and helpful. And I thought a great way for commissioners to get to meet and greet as well for the new commissioners, and for us staff to also get to know you on a more fun level, which I know is important to the commission. So I wanted to say thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Agenda item number 10, commission member initiated agenda items. I don't think we have any. Number 11, future agenda items added by commission members. I also think we don't have any with that. Number 12, commission reports roundtable. Commissioner Ritter, can I start with you? We can kind of go down the row if there is anything that anyone needs to share. Thank you.
Certainly. I just have 3 things to mention. First of all, I had the opportunity to volunteer on Sunday, Tuesday, and Wednesday at CPRS, which is the California Parks and Recreation Society. Is that what it is, Society? They actually had their annual convention in San Diego at the Convention Center. I mainly worked as a room host, so I basically were introducing speakers and kind of managing the room, and it gave me an opportunity to listen into some really great seminars on things like grant writing, telling your stories to the public through social media, the importance of data and how to use it to kind of sell your budget to those decision makers like City Council. But one of the best seminars I attended was this one entitled The Yin to Your Yang, and it was actually hosted by our own manager Norgard. And if you could share that one photo that I took while I was there. So I room hosted a lot of rooms with seminars, but this was by far the most packed room. So Commissioner Norgard actually was on a panel of a total of 4 speakers, and basically they were kind of discussing how the 2 silos of recreation and the silo for parks and a Parks and Recreation department, how to better work together for the benefit of the community. And as you can see, it was extremely well attended and very informative. So congratulations and thank you to Manager Norgard for being out there and showing what a great speaker you are and representing the city. One of the big reasons for me to attend the CPRS, as many of you know, I'm really interested in bringing outdoor fitness equipment to our city parks, and this was obviously a major thing at CPRS. And while I was there, if you show the next picture, I gathered just a few brochures and articles, so lots of things for me to read through and share with the ad hoc that will be working with me for the outdoor fitness equipment. When I was in Tel Aviv last month, these outdoor parks, fitness parks, were huge, and I would say they probably had nearly every manufacturer that you see there. They had something of theirs. I mean, it was incredible, and I obviously took lots of photos and videos. So I got a lot of information there, so I'm really excited about that. And then moving on to the spring egg hunt, it was great to see it's so well attended by all the commissioners that were in town. So thank you for my fellow commissioners to participate in that event. I think the staff and volunteers did a fantastic job. I think also having extra eggs for those children that didn't quite snatch the eggs off the ground in time is a brilliant idea, and it really diffused a lot of potential meltdowns. And then every child really did go home with a smile. So it was fun to hand those out at the end because you could see the relief in the parents' faces and the smiles in the kids' faces when they're like, "Oh, I got some eggs." And then the final thing that I would say is I will be out of the country in May, so I'll be missing next month's commission meeting. But I will be here for the special meeting.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Hanson?
Arbor Day was a really fun day last year, and I expect the same this year. Just a great event. The T-shirts are great. The donuts were great. I don't know about the burritos. I learned the hard way what not to say at a Easter egg hunt. The word go.
Yes, I was there.
Yeah, I said 1 minute to go, and a group in the corner just heard go, so they got started early, but it was a blast. It was just a blast. Don't go, don't go, don't go. Too late. Anyway, it was a good time. Thank you very much.
Great. Commissioner Meldahl, anything to share at this time?
To do it, but I just want to know what happens next, since I haven't done this before. We have these ad hoc committees. Do we now send emails to each other and say what should we do together? We're going to talk a bit more about the language, I guess, individually.
Yeah, so certainly these ad hoc committees, even though the language hasn't necessarily been formally adopted, I think it's completely appropriate to reach out to your ad hoc partners and start to devise different ideas about how to approach the work plan. It'll be more formally adopted at the next meeting, but I don't think you need to wait until that. If there's something that's you think pressing or something that you'd like to start working on, that'd be fine. Just as a reminder, you shouldn't, according to the Brown Act, we're not going to email the entire commission. You should have everybody should have everybody's individual emails. I believe that was shared earlier. You can also, at any time, send me an email individually if you have a specific question, just a procedural question. I understand it's a little bit confusing at first and not exactly sure how to approach it. It was for me anyway when I was a new commissioner. So at any point, if anybody wants to email me directly, you're more than welcome to, and I'm happy to meet for a coffee or a trail walk or whatever, and we can kind of talk about, what, how to approach a certain issue or item. So, yeah, the work begins, but also the fun begins now too, and hopefully trying to make the city a better, more enjoyable place for all of us. So, Commissioner O'Halloran?
Can we publish the ad hoc? Are we able to do that? Publish who signed up for an ad hoc?
I'll send it out to the ad hocs.
That would be great. Thank you. I wanted to have an official welcome to Commissioner Muldall. Thanks for joining us. Thanks also for bringing forward and having an item for the work plan and adding that in. That's great. Thank you both to new commissioners Quinn and Van Auer for bringing also that item forward on the trails and volunteering for that subcommittee, and also a congratulations to Chair Winters. Yeah, thank you for volunteering and your service. The Easter egg hunt was fantastic too. Thanks all.
Thank you. Commissioner Quinn, anything you'd like to share during the roundtable?
Just really quickly, Julie and I got a head start on the ad hoc committee last Thursday, as you know, and it really inspired me to visit every single trail, and that's going to be my goal in 2023. I visited and walked a lot of them in the Livenhain area, and I didn't even know they were there. And I've been living in this community since 1979, and I am very impressed. And it's going to be fun just visiting every single trail and making notes.
Yeah, I'd encourage you to try to take some notes, even if it's on your phone. Sometimes there could be a maintenance issue that staff may not be aware of, or there could be, some other type of issue. So if something's really working, I really encourage you to let Manager Norgard know. And if something sort of you think maybe could be improved, I would suggest that as well, because I think that's how these trails will be maintained and be improved over time. So that's great.
Thank you for reminding me there's a trail marker down, and I took a picture of it. I'll send it to you. I picked it up and laid it on the fence, so thank you.
Great, thank you. Mr. Van Auer?
Yep, also excited for working with everyone. It's been a pretty good 2 meetings so far. And yeah, definitely looking forward to the trails. I started the Outer Spatial app, and it's really neat. So I hope to encourage everyone to look at that, as well as residents too. So thanks.
Great, thank you. Well, first off, thanks for the opportunity to be chair of this commission. I'll certainly do my best. And of course, if anybody at any point needs me or would like to contact me, you should always feel free to do so. I'll certainly be as available as I can. Do we know if the new commissioners have T-shirts yet?
I actually checked in on that earlier today, so more to come.
That's not we won't discuss it because it's not an agendized item. Okay. So you guys will be getting T-shirts, which are always good to wear at the city events. It identifies you. You can wear your badge as well. If you don't have the T-shirt, I do think it is important to do so. It kind of creates, people will know who you are, and they'll be able to come up to you, and you get more comfortable with interacting with the public, which is great. I'm looking forward to seeing everybody. Hopefully, we'll all be able to attend the May 2nd meeting. I think that's going to be a very interesting meeting, an enjoyable meeting, and I think it's going to be a meeting where we're going to have an opportunity to get some real community feedback, and then hopefully at the end of that meeting make some decisions that will be, in the best interest of the city and the best interest of the residents. And I think that's something that I'm looking forward to experiencing. Other than that, thank you very much to staff for your guidance and advice during this meeting. I appreciate it. And I think it is 7:03. I will use my gavel for the first time and adjourn the meeting. Thank you very much.